Bro, he said retcon does not imply plot hole and that retcon is not always bad. A lot of these comments from Dygoknight supporters, I'm just going to say, a lot of them just kept saying, well, he said. Hey, bro, maybe this might come off as mean. Dygoknight, I ain't got no beef with you, but fuck what Dygoknight says. What the fuck? Yeah, I keep coming. Everybody keeps commenting like, oh, Dygoknight, he knows ball. He knows Naruto. That's good for him. So do I. I remember the story I watched.
He's asking if you can do this.
Or not comments from Dygoknight, but like comments on my Dygoknight video. If you have not watched it, it was posted 7 months ago. Why did it take me so long to get to a response? Because, anyways, this video is basically about retcons. We're gonna watch it a little bit as we go through here because people obviously have timestamps in their comments about what they disagree with. But we have a lot of people who disagreed with me, and they didn't say it in the nicest way possible. And I got my feelings hurt a little bit, cried a little bit, and then I decided, what if I just make it into content? What if I just respond using content? So that's what we're here today for. As you can see, this comment right here, this is what really made me, I gotta respond now. Holy I shit, you are an idiot. Did you even watch the video? Now, very clearly I did, but obviously this guy, I didn't watch it enough. So this guy Ches, another guy who I really wanted to respond to, he had a lot of points. This guy said, I don't like you're outright just fucking stupid, but like you need to do more research and get a better grasp on English, gang. So apparently I don't know English. Now, if you're wondering why people are saying this, it's because in this video, I said that a retcon is something that directly contradicts past information. If you're wondering what that means, me too. What did I say on the topic? Well, this guy, I said something here, so I'll play the clip, then I'll let him respond, then I'll respond to his comment.
Take the next step in treating your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis
so
with the only gut focus.
I don't care about a Schofield colitis story. Not something that you believe. Naruto and Hinata ending up together. Now, let me just read the definition of retcon, because this is a very big point that in the video, for some reason, people keep disagree with. Even though I pulled up the definition, somehow people still disagree with the definition. It says, retcon, the act, practice, or result of changing an existing fictional narrative by introducing new information in a later work that recontextualizes previously established events, characters, etc. That is a very important part. That previously established point, yeah, that starts whooping some of these dudes' asses. That starts whooping these niggas' asses. I promise you. So this goes wrong. Changing a fictional narrative or recontextualizing it by introducing new information could be not enough information being given previously in a way that implies something that which contradicts the story later on. It is foolish to think that a retcon is something that directly goes against the logic of the story. By your line of logic, a retcon would be something like this. Jake is an orphan and only has $5. On the way to the supermarket, he hears a familiar voice. He turns around slowly with pure shock in his eyes. He sees his parents, who he thought had abandoned him, I assume. Which is also a type of retcon. I agree. What? By your line of logic, something like this would be retcon? How's this a retcon? Is it because it's a familiar voice? I assume that's what it is. First of all, what he wrote was just stupid. It was idiotic, because if someone's writing a story, right, about an orphan, and then they have a familiar voice, their parents' voice is familiar to them, they could still be an orphan. Here's the thing. Most stories are you can just explain away by the audience. The audience can explain them. They can understand them themselves. They can make their own, assumptions on what's going on in the story based off the information that the writer gives them. Now, if the writer expands that information, that's not a retcon. That does not recontextualize previously established events, because the established event does not exist. So if someone's an orphan, right? Let's say their parents gave them up the day they were born. If their parents then come back, that is not a retcon. If their parents show up in the story, that's not a retcon. I don't know what the point here was, but it's not a retcon. You cannot recontextualize a previously established event that you did not give context to in the first place. That's the whole argument I'm saying in this video. But this guy, he continues. By the real definition, it could be something like I'm going to get through this. A tall man snatches a purse from an elderly woman and bolts down the street. Bystanders gasp, assuming he's a thief. Moments later, he kneels in front of a officer, handing the purse to his father, who had told him to retrieve it after she accidentally left it behind, which also works. You aren't told the man is a thief, but then new information is given. It recontextualizes past events. That's not a retcon. I don't understand your points you're making here. None of these you wrote down are retcons. None of these you wrote down are retcons. Retcons are not necessarily bad. For example, if you don't like the direction the story is going, or it's hard to cause certain events to happen, then it's fine to add a retcon. Some retcons, of course, are bad, like the Black Zetsu retcon, but small retcons, like the Tail Beast retcon, work very well because they are very seamless. You cannot retcon something that doesn't exist. You cannot retcon a part of the story that you haven't already written down. A retcon, again, previously established events. That one part I told you it's gonna whoop their ass. Previously established events. If something isn't previously established, it cannot be retconned, right? The Naruto and Gaara fight in the forest, right? It can be retconned right now. If in Boruto randomly they're like, Naruto's like, well, actually, me and Gaara never fought. We loved each other since the day we were born. We were actually better. That's a retcon. That's a retcon. A retcon is when a part of the story that hasn't been shown to you, hasn't been explained to you, is then changed in a different way to show you something different. I don't know why people are so confused on how a retcon cannot be an expanding of information. If you just weren't given the information, you weren't given the information, right? But this guy continues. He left a lot of comments, right? He said, "I swear to God, this is rage bait. Did you read Naruto without spoilers? If so, did you read it recently? Because when you read it, it is heavily implied that Minato is far stronger than all the other Kage." First of all, I didn't read the manga, right? I didn't read the manga. Maybe that's the problem. All right, I heard a lot about Studio Paradise. They changed things up. It wasn't shown correctly from what the manga was. Sure, maybe I was wrong there. Can they stop playing ads for each time I just want to watch my video? I did not put this many ads on my video. Did I? Am I an ass? I apologize. Paul, we didn't know anything that separated them. We didn't know anything that diverged. All we knew was that they were strong. So then when we get that's all I said. So I'm just explaining how. Okay, so when I watched Naruto the first time, again, I never came away thinking Minato was the strongest. Maybe that's just me and how I digest stories. I always assume the first of something is the strongest. So like the first avatar, I'm like, oh, that's got to be the strongest avatar because you built this, you created this. You like that's just common sense. That's just common sense. If the first ever Hokage, in my mind, I'm like, that's got to be the strongest. He's got to be. He created this. He started this. He built this brick by brick. You can't tell me that's not. You can't tell me you just automatically assume the first of something is the strongest. It's just, I feel like maybe that's how I consume stories again. Maybe I'm just completely off the mark. But the way I think about stories, I consume stories, is that if you're the first of something, you are the strongest. And that's it. This guy said, are you a brick wall or something? Kishimoto intended for the first and second Hokage to be weak, so it would make complete sense. You only know the truth because it was made up after the fact. He changed the story so that would be the truth. Like what? He wrote the story. None of it was factual beforehand. You do know that, right? So again, we're still talking about this Hokage fight. It is not a retcon to expand your story. Again, it was not explicitly stated which time period he got the previous Hokage from, right? Lord Third said, they're as strong as I remember. What the fuck do you remember, right? I know he's an old fart, but was he there in Hashiro's prime? Was he there in Tobito's prime? Was he there for that? Was he there to see that nigga fight Madara? Was he there to see that? Because it isn't them in their prime. Because it's explained like apparently later, Kabuto was just better at using the Ito Tensei than Orochimaru was here. So again, just expanding the story, it explains to you why this is true, right? Even if you're gonna say, oh, he wasn't thinking about that when he wrote it the first time, you could be telling the truth. He'd be completely right. But guess what? He's writing it now. So the way that he's writing it right now, you are wrong and he is right because it is his story. Right here, he says Boruto. Oh, hold on. Boruto is just a cash grab. I don't know what he's trying to say here. It's Boruto, but replace the N with a B. How is that immature? Like, imagine if they made a sequel of Death Note and it's called fucking Life Note, where the MC's name is Dark Yagami. That is not canon and unnecessary. Honestly, it should have ended. All right, look, man. You can have your opinions on Boruto. Me personally, I love Boruto. I love it. All right. I love Bort. I can't wait for the time skip to get animated. I can't wait. I love Bort. But if you hate Boruto, that's cool, man. If you think Naruto should have just ended, that's cool, man. Unfortunately, that's not how this world works. That's not how capitalism works. That's not how success works. When you're a writer, it's just me, again, making assumptions. But I imagine that if you write something like Naruto, as big and as successful as Naruto, you probably want to keep writing Naruto. Unless like you feel like you can't do anything more with it. But very clearly, Kishimoto felt like he could do more with it. He could keep expanding it. You know what I'm saying? The writer of My Hero right now, I'm sure he's at a dilemma right now whether he wants to continue it or keep the perfect bow on the story. Because here's the thing, it's always a possibility for you to expand the story and make it better, make it greater. And I feel like some of mangaka, I can't say that word, mangakins. It's a hard word for me to say. But some mangakins, they are at the crossroads sometimes when they finish the story. And honestly, I think finishing it or expanding it, I think it's really up to how far ahead in the future they can think. And we haven't gotten to the end of Boruto to call it completely trash. So we'll have to wait and see. I love Boruto. And this part says, no, this will mean most people don't know what retcons mean. What is he responding to? Stop giving me ads, me. Stop giving me. I don't care about the Olive Garden. Don't go to Olive Garden. Because they believe that they insult their intelligence. So yes, when you say retcon, that is a negative thing. And the problem is, most of these aren't even retcons. Again, they're adjustments. Okay, so in this part, again, I said that retcons are a bad thing. Because that's the thing. Dygoknight was trying to change the definition and then say, well, with my definition of retcon, they're not a bad thing. Well, they're not. It's not a bad thing when you change the definition. When you have the actual definition, which is changing a previously established event, guess what? That is a bad thing. That is going to piss people off. If you play in their faces like something didn't happen when it definitely happened, then they're not going to be too happy about that. I'd imagine most people aren't happy about that when that happens. So yeah, a retcon is a bad thing. It is intrinsically a bad thing. Let's move on to a different comment. Bro, he said retcon does not imply plot hole and that a retcon is not always bad. A lot of these comments from Dygoknight supporters, I'm just going to say, a lot of them just kept saying, well, he said. Hey, bro, maybe this might come off as mean. Dygoknight, I ain't got no beef with you, but fuck what Dygoknight says. What the fuck? Yeah, I keep coming. Everybody keeps commenting like, oh, Dygoknight, he knows ball. He knows Naruto. That's good for him. So do I. I remember the story I watched. And again, if it's a difference in, what you're reading and what we're watching, that's my bad. But nobody's saying in the comments. Nobody's saying that, oh, we're talking about the manga here. No, everybody's arguing me, even though I'm talking about the anime. I'm talking about the anime because I didn't read the manga. But nobody's saying that to me. So as far as I'm concerned, we're still talking about the anime. Someone said, sure, if A and B are switched to another alphabet when it's meant to be the first two alphabets, then it's a retcon, bro. My brother in Christ, you are correct because that is a previously established thing. If we moved A and B to the end of the alphabet and we started off with X and Y, yes, that would be a retcon. That would be wrong. That would be the wrong thing to do. We should be in an uproar about it. Yes, we should be rioting in the streets if that ever happens. We should be rioting in the streets if that happens. Yes, that is a bad thing. That is a very bad thing if they just switch the alphabet on us. But that's not what we're describing in this video. In this video, we are describing, well, if at 5 years old, I knew A, B, C, and D, but I didn't know E and F came afterwards, guess what? That's not you not knowing information fully, you not knowing the full context of the story as it's happening does not make any expansion a retcon. Because for all you know, Kishimoto had it mapped out from day one. He was just ass at writing. He had it mapped out from day one. Now, obviously he didn't, but for all we know, he could have had all of Naruto mapped out. And maybe Shippuden was a little bit of, I don't know what to do with this one. We don't know how far he had Naruto mapped out from his original vision. So to say it's a retcon, we literally can't. Right here it says, you just said Kishimoto did write retcons to the story. What did I say? Please don't play an ad. I'll legitimately turn the ads off on this video. 15 years of writing a manga. I don't think that in 15 years of writing anything, I'm going to keep everything 100% consistent. One of the points that Dygoknight LARPs on very heavily is that the power level of Hashirama, I literally don't know how to further explain that. Yes, writing a story for 15 years, there's going to be a couple bumps in the road. I did not admit he wrote retcons into the story that were the retcons Dygoknight was explaining. Did he have retcons? Did he have bumps in the story? Yes, he did. Am I talking about the specific ones that Dygoknight is saying? No, I'm not. I'm specifically disagreeing with the ones that I am disagreeing with. I didn't think I had to explain that, but apparently I do. Apparently I have to explain that when you disagree with something, you are disagreeing with that one thing. I did not say Naruto never had any retcons. That was something that never came out of my mouth. God, a couple more. Let's see. Didn't you understand Daigo was approaching the topic from a writing standpoint, not in universe? Another thing people were saying a lot. This was another point people were saying a lot, that this is from a writing standpoint, not an in-universe standpoint. And I'm sorry, but you can't judge that. You literally can't judge. You literally can't judge that from a writing standpoint. You wanna know why? Because you weren't there. You weren't there when he was mapping out the story. Again, you don't know how far he was writing it. You don't know how far he was writing into the future. Now you could like overanalyze every line and say, this kind of implies something that's not exactly what happens in the future. But guess what? You don't know that. You don't know that. By Dygoknight's logic, a plot twist is a retcon. Unless the plot twist 100% mapped out. They have to give you every hint to make you look at the plot twist. If the plot twist comes out of nowhere with little foreshadowing, it can be considered a retcon. Because you have to not only foreshadow everything coming forward, but you have to know everything that's going to happen. Because if anything even slightly if it slightly deviates off what Dygoknight thinks is going to happen, that's a retcon. Everything's a retcon. If you don't have it completely mapped out. The thing is, this is quite literally comparing apples to oranges debate. I watch both of them, and where I'm seeing is that they are trying to explain Naruto, but have completely different opposite ways of going about it. Dygoknight is usually going about it from an outsider writer's perspective, and NC Hammer is using it in an in-universe perspective, which NC Hammer is doing the correct thing, which is when you watch a show, you look at it from an in-universe standpoint. You don't watch a TV show and like, what was the writer thinking when they did this? No, you watch the show. You know, if you get immersed, you start looking at things through the eyes of the characters, rather than where's the writer going with this? You know, what's really happening here? You just don't watch TV shows like that. You can't convince me you do. It's like, man, I didn't know Dygoknight had. I mean, I knew he had subs. I didn't know he had stands though. Like this is just crazy to me. Finally, someone said Dygoknight don't understand Naruto. 82 replies. It got grimy in this comment section, man. Let me tell you, it got grimy. Like they was getting down and dirty. I can't lie. Pause. I can't lie. It was like the comment section. I will say this, man. For the most part, it was respectful. It was right. Not a lot of crazy things were said. I'm not gonna sit up here and also this. If anybody takes it as like an attack on Dygoknight, or I'm saying, oh, Dygoknight is this, Dygoknight, I'm not. All right, bro, just makes videos. He over there, I'm over here. We chilling. We got two different perspectives on what we're watching. That's fine. Not a lot of things I feel the need to respond to. I mean, most of the other comments left are just more disagree with me. I'm not here to just argue with the people for 1 hour, 30 minutes. You know, you get the point. All right, I've been here for about 20 minutes. You get the point. You know, some people just didn't understand the arguments I was making, and that's fine. You know, I didn't think a lot of people. I mean, again, they weren't disrespectful. Some people called me stupid. I could look for those comments, but I don't feel like it right now because there are other videos I want to respond to. If you can look at if you can look up top. So that's gonna be the end of this video. If you like the video, subscribe, and yeah, we're heading out.